All right, if you have your eye on the Naples luxury real estate market, whether you're a buyer or seller, this is for you. Today, we're diving into a full analysis of the 2025 market for properties over $1 million. We're going to break down what happened, and more importantly, what it all means. So, let's get right into it.
So, what was the big headline for 2025? Well, honestly, it wasn't about crazy swings or dizzying new heights. The real story, the central theme, was stabilization. The market finally seemed to find its equilibrium, which created a much more balanced environment for everybody involved.
So, how did we get to this point of balance? Well, first, we'll look at the economic foundation that set the stage. Then, we'll get into some of the landmark sales that really defined the year. We'll also cover a really important shift in pricing strategy. You'll want to hear about that. And finally, we'll cast our eyes forward and talk about what to expect in 2026. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the bedrock. A healthy real estate market doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It's got to be built on a solid economic foundation. And for Naples in 2025, that foundation was surprisingly steady. What's fascinating is how these four very different factors kind of created the perfect conditions for market balance. You had a strong stock market and falling interest rates, which of course fueled buyer demand, but at the same time, things like better insurance availability and thankfully a calm hurricane season, well, that gave buyers the confidence they needed to actually pull the trigger. It's a great example of how all these forces can work together to create real stability. And the result of all that? A market in balance. By the time fall rolled around, supply and demand were pretty much in sync. This created a fair playing field for everyone. That kind of frenzy we saw in previous years, yeah, that was pretty much gone, replaced by something a lot more stable and, frankly, a lot more predictable. So, what does this stability actually look like on the ground? Let's take a look at some of the landmark sales and top-performing neighborhoods because they really tell the story of 2025. Okay, now this is the kind of number that just stops you in your tracks. In 2025, a single waterfront estate in Port Royal sold for $225 million. And this wasn't just some local record. This was the second highest residential sale in the entire history of the United States. Just incredible. So you have to be asking, what in the world does $225 million get you in Naples? Well, this gives you an idea of the scale. We are talking about a massive 15-acre estate right on Gordon Drive, made up of 3 separate properties. It has 800 feet of direct Gulf frontage. I mean, wow. This sale is just a powerful reminder that even in a more stable market, the demand for truly one-of-a-kind properties is as strong as ever. But here's the thing. It wasn't just about that one record-breaking sale. As you can see here, the market was strong pretty much across the board. From Port Royal's incredible average sale price to the strong numbers in Old Naples, Pelican Bay, and Gray Oaks, we saw consistent demand and really solid value retention. And that's the sign of a genuinely healthy, balanced market, not one that's just being propped up by a few outliers. Now, this market balance wasn't just a result of those big economic factors. It was also driven by a really smart strategic shift from sellers. And this change was absolutely key to keeping the market active and healthy. This is such a crucial point, especially for anyone thinking about selling. In 2025, we saw a big move away from what you might call aspirational pricing, throwing a huge number out there just to see if it sticks. Instead, sellers got much more realistic, pricing their homes to reflect the actual market. And that was a huge factor in keeping things moving. And you can see the results of that shift right here. It's so clear. As sellers got more realistic with their prices, buyers responded. We saw a big jump in pending sales in the second half of the year. In fact, September's numbers actually beat pre-pandemic levels from 2019. By November, closed sales were up almost 10% from the year before. It just goes to show you how the right pricing strategy can make all the difference. So, all of this brings us to the final big question: where does the Naples luxury market stand as we head into 2026? Well, all the data seems to be pointing toward a market that's defined less by volatility and more by healthy opportunity. So, what's the bottom line for 2026? All the signs are really positive. We're entering the year with healthy inventory levels, which is great. We've got that positive sales momentum carrying over, and it means there are diverse choices out there for affluent buyers. At the end of the day, it's a market that seems poised for the preservation of long-term value. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. In a market that's really all about stability, how do we measure success? Is it still about chasing those rapid price gains? Or is it more about finding that perfect property and focusing on building long-term value? It's a new perspective for a new kind of market.